So let's get you planting some trees with the native Unity tools. So let's go into Unity. So here in Unity, I have my main terrain hidden. So base draw is off and my meshes are on. And in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on my scouting capability for these four meshes. And what did I decide I needed here? I needed my satellite uh, material. There it is, OPCD Moss satellite. And now I can see what I'm doing. I probably need it. I'll leave that one go for now. You'll get the idea without me. I'm going to plant a lot of trees here, but for the sake of the tutorial, this looks like a good spot to start. So let's go. We need to come down here to our inner terrain, and we're going to go to the little tree icon here, and it says immediately no trees defined. So the first thing we need to do is add some trees. And we need prefabs. So prefabs are essentially little bundles of that contain all the characteristics of a tree so that you can use them in the game. And there are some that are included with your base project, and there are various other ones that you can purchase via the Unity store and other places, but the ones included with the project are under this trees folder here in our assets and tree share. So let's take one from each. So under trees, let's look at the broadleaf, and then you can see here anything with this little icon, the blue icon, those are the different trees types that we can use here. So we got this broadleaf desktop and we got broadleaf desktop small. So let me click back on my terrain so I can get that back. And I'm going to take edit trees, add tree, and I'm going to take the broadleaf desktop we have here and I'm going to drop it into this slot. I'm going to hit add, and now you can see I've got broadleaf desktop here. Let's add one more tree while we're in here. Let's go to tree share, and let's see, Douglas fir, and also, so there's our Douglas fir. Let me go back to my inner terrain, edit trees, add tree, and let's do Douglas fir. Drop that into the slot, hit add. Now I've got two trees that we can use. So let's start with the broadleaf and let's just zoom in a little bit. Now the first thing you see here is we got this brush size. Okay, this blue area is the total area that we could potentially plant some trees in. Now you can see that's pretty big, and if our density is really high, so we've got our brush size here and our density is here. If I click, I'm going to plant a bunch of trees. Okay, that's because I've got a big brush and a lot of density. Now to get rid of those trees, I can hold shift and click, and then I'll get rid of those trees. So let's make our brush a little bit smaller, and let me click again and see what happens. Now there's just one tree there. That's good. So let me just click a couple spots where I think there's this large broadleaf here, here, here. Looks like there might be one there, and then two over here. And what it's doing is it's observing some other characteristics here, which is tree height, and I have it set to random. So if I have it set here in the middle, it's going to vary the height of the tree, and it's hard to tell from where I'm at. Let's go down here. This tree height is varied slightly here between these two. Now, let me show you an instance of how this changes. So let me put it here and all the way here. Now it's going to vary the height from tiny to huge. And I'm waiting for a tiny one. There's the tiny one. So it's just completely random. So a situation like this isn't something you probably want to use, but it's nice to vary a tree in its height just a little bit to make it look like a different tree. We also do lock width to height. If I don't have that, I can end up with like really short fat trees or really tall skinny trees, which kind of look weird. And then the last thing here is random tree rotation. It rotates the tree along the y-axis, so that way it'll actually look like a different tree. These are all the same model trees, but because they're being rotated, they actually look quite different. So now I've got those trees, and you can see that, again, like I said, shift will shift and click will get rid of a tree, and then just a regular click will add one. So let me just add, oops, I still have this huge variation turned on. Let me get rid of that. Drag this one back down to keep it reasonable. And now if I switch here, I can start planting a Douglas fir, different model. You can see that does vary the height a little bit. Bottom line is now you can add your different tree types and you can start planting. One thing I want to note is that you should, okay, take a baseline of your performance to get an idea of how trees are impacting your performance. So let me come back up here to my main camera. And I didn't plant a lot of trees, so this performance isn't going to be drastic. And I'm going to do game object, align with view. And now that I've got this aligned, I can hit play. And you can see I've got my frames per second, I've got my try count, and everything's really low right now. I don't have a lot of things really in this scene, but I can get my statistics and I can turn my trees on and off by going down to my inner terrain settings. And if I turn off tree detail objects, I can turn them off and I can see the impact. So you can see my try count changing, my batch calls changing when I turn those on and off. So I can see how much they're impacting really what I'm doing here. So that's really a really simple introduction to start drawing trees. And just don't forget when you're done, if you change this material, you can always come back. So I highlight this one, oops, do this one. And these are the ones I changed. I come back here, right click, set default materials, and then things are kind of back the way they were. I got some trees started.